Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Om. Om Akyantimandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gui Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manupistam Stapiramina Bhuttale Swayam Rupakaramayam Dadati Swavadantikam Namam Vishnuvada Kashavisa Bhuttale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Govani Pachayani Nivishesha Shunyavari Pasatara Satarine Vanshakapa Duvesha Kripa Sinivevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhavanityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Go Bhaktavinna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so welcome everybody to our third and final session on the topic of the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. So of course, we by no means we are really discussing the topic in full. We are just simply touching on a few little points. In the book, you get a much deeper understanding of the whole topic of false ego. So yesterday, we were introducing the first aspect of Vaishnava etiquette, that we should not defend ourselves. We should defend others, but we should not defend ourselves. So this is a very important rule of Vaishnava etiquette, which will help us to actually dissolve the false, false ego and let go of, following its demands, of being right, of knowing better, and. So we were discussing different mechanisms of defending the false ego by blaming others and so many things. And yeah, I mean, once we get a little insights into these subtle aspects, we will actually recognize that Krishna puts almost every day some opportunity in our way to help us dissolve the false ego, but usually we don't even understand it, and we do the opposite of what we should be doing. So that's why Vaishnava etiquette and culture is our saving grace, because Vaishnava etiquette and culture is designed to bring us to this point of Trinada Pisunichina, being more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. And actually only then we can fully receive all the power and benefit which the holy name carries, right? Yeah, so as long as we are not spontaneously on that platform of being Trinada Pisunichina, we do need the help of Vaishnava etiquette and culture. So, and first and foremost, all is not to defend in all its different variations. So discussing this topic yesterday brought us at the very end to the topic of tolerance, which we did not have time to touch upon. I have discussed this topic in more detail on Saturday morning in the ladies' program. But just for the sake of including it here also, I will briefly touch upon it, and then also touch upon a second rule of Vaishnava etiquette, which helps us to dissolve the false ego. So yes, tolerance is probably one of the most important qualities to develop. It's the criteria to measure a person's spiritual strength and advancement, in how tolerant a person can be. We have the glorious examples of Haridas Thakur, Prahlad Maharaj, who are remembered and worshipped throughout the universes because of their personification of these qualities, tolerance. So, of course, with mundane eyes, tolerance looks like what? Weakness, yes, completely. What, do you tolerate that? I wouldn't tolerate that. You know, with mundane perception, to fight for your rights and not tolerating, that's success. Whereas from a spiritual point of view, to tolerate is success. So we can remember 269 in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, what is day to the common person is night to the introspective sage. So these two worldviews of a materialist and a spiritualist, they're so opposite as day is from night. Yes. So we can remember, and we have to remember this, that what is success in material life most likely will create an impediment in spiritual development. Yeah. And what is success in spiritual life most likely will be seen as weakness, as being a loser. Right? We have to be very clear in this, because this day-night principle accompanies us throughout our whole spiritual journey. And if we don't deeply understand this and internalize this, then very easily we get confused. Oh, out there, this is progress, this is modern, this is success. But yeah, for us, it may be the opposite. You know, yes. So if we don't know this, then we just go with the flow. We accept whatever new Kali Yuga idea comes up, and there will be so many coming up as Kali Yuga advances. So we have to be very clear in this and carefully consider, what do I want to invite into my life? Right? Yes, yes. Yeah, so tolerance, there are a few powerful statements in the Bhagavatam. Let me share at least one with you, where nicely this quality of tolerance is described. How a Vaishnava is so forbearing, meaning so tolerant. That's verse 1, 1848. It says there, the devotees of the Lord are so forbearing, meaning so tolerant, that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves. Wow, that's what it means to be tolerant, right? Yes. Even though we may be defamed, that's such a challenge for our false ego if our fame and reputation is ruined, right? Yes, yes. But we don't mind, you know? Yes, yes. That's, by the way, what the gopis demonstrated. They were willing to sacrifice their reputation in society, you know? In those times, it was like social suicide for a woman to leave her husband at night and meet a lover in the forest. You were ostracized. You were rejected from society. Yes. Of course, now things are a little different. It's quite common that people do this. You know, again, what is the topmost in spiritual life is the lowest. You know, and what is topmost in material life is the lowest, you know, in spiritual life. So yeah, you know, so we have to understand these things more deeply. What the gopis actually demonstrate, the highest level of self-sacrifice, even sacrificing their reputation and their position in society, you know, yes. Yeah, so when somebody is ruining our reputation, oh, this is very painful to our false ego, and we are so worried. What is everybody thinking now of me? Right? Whenever we consider that, it means it's a false ego. Or when we are cheated, this is another challenge to the false ego. You know, oh, unfair. False ego is crying for justice. Right? Very often when there's some crime committed, let's say somebody got murdered, the relatives can only be peaceful when the person is punished, right? Then they get their revenge there. Okay, 30 years in jail. Thank God he got his punishment. So that's the false ego's demands, you know, that people can only be peaceful when that is you know, accomplished. Yeah, or curses in Kali Yuga, the curses are not so powerful anymore, thank God. Or disturbed, neglected. That's another challenge for the false ego when we are neglected, ignored, right? Or when we are insulted. Yes, all these things are challenging, but a devotee tolerates these things, you know, without being disturbed, without having that feeling of revenge and getting back at that person and you know. So, and also let me briefly explain, because yesterday also the question came up, or, you know, how much can we tolerate, especially out there in the material world? So let me first of all understand we have to discriminate between true tolerance and simply suppressing things. So what we usually think to be tolerance is actually merely suppressing things. And internally, the false ego battle continues, and the false ego protests and rebels and demands and we simply suppress. But suppressing never offers the solution. So true tolerance, there are two tools we need to actually cultivate true tolerance. First tool is that we have that humility, to have that approach. Actually, I am such a rascal. I deserve so much worse. But Krishna is so kind, he only gives me one drop of what I really deserve. So that requires humility. And humility also can be seen as the primary quality to tolerance, because a humble person will be tolerant, whereas a person who is proud will never be tolerant. So we need at least some little humility to try and understand, actually, I deserve so much worse. You know, maybe I have been torturing that person in my previous life or in the beginning of this life, and now I'm simply getting back what I deserve, and actually I should deserve so much more, you know. Yeah. And then there's a second tool, that whatever we experience in this life, we have to be able to connect with Krishna being in the picture. Seeing Krishna's hand in everything. This is actually what it means to be Krishna conscious, that we can connect each and every situation in our life with Krishna's hand. What is Krishna trying to teach me? There must be some reason why he is allowing this to go on, you know? So what does that vision require? Not coming from the ladies, they've heard it all a few times. So let's turn to the man. What do we have to see Krishna's hand in the picture? Let's see if anybody can understand. Hmm? Huh? Yeah, but no, we need one basic thing. Yes, but I'm thinking of something else. We need faith, right? We need faith in Krishna. Otherwise, we can even have good sadhana in a very mechanical way, you know, just being there for Mangaladi, rattling down our rounds, sitting half asleep in the Bhagavatam class. So this will all not help unless we have cultivated firm faith. Only when we have firm faith, then we can see Krishna's hand in every situation, not only in the good things when things go according to our expectations. Then we like to say, oh, it's Krishna's arrangement, you know, but when we face some calamities, some challenges, we usually don't say, oh, that's Krishna's arrangement. You know, what is he trying to teach me? And what lesson am I meant to learn here, you know? So that vision requires unflinching faith. Then we can see Krishna's hand in everything. So with these two tools, some little humility to understand actually I deserve so much worse, and faith in Krishna that we can see Krishna's hand in the picture. If we approach challenging situations with this mood, that will quieten down the false ego's demands, right? Maybe not immediately. If it is the first time that we are trying to do this, it may take a little while, you know. And once again, we need the help of a counselor. While we are in a more neophyte stage, we cannot see Krishna's hand in the picture. No, we cannot. False ego is blocking our ears and intelligence, and we can't see. So that's why we need this well-wishing, more experienced friend in our life who can show us, look, here, Krishna is trying to tell you something, and, you know. Without such a person in our life, we can very easily be lost, and we will not master the challenges which Krishna will put in our way. Krishna is testing us constantly. And as we become more senior, the tests become more difficult, more deep, just to uproot the more subtle anarthas. You see, the first few years, it's more the gross things, but then comes all subtle things, which require much deeper purification. So therefore, the tests will be more challenging. And if we don't have such a well-wishing friend to take shelter of, we will take shelter of our false ego, guaranteed. And we will think, oh, that's unfair. They don't know how to treat me. And I've done so much service, and now they treat me like this. And then we will get offended and fade away and never to be seen again. Happens all the time. Yeah. Okay. So, of course, there are so many more things to say. Oh, maybe I should read one more purport and verse. Yesterday, who is the person here who asked yesterday? Or what about outside in the material world? No, probably not. But maybe he's watching online. So let me quickly hang on. No need to have some hope. Huh? That doesn't matter. I don't know him. No need. So obviously the person is not here. So maybe he's watching on internet. That's all we need to know. So yesterday the question came up, but out there in the material world, don't we have to defend? Otherwise we get all, trampled on and taken advantage of. And so that's a very common question. And to illustrate this point that even in dealings in the material world, we have to very carefully consider whether we should defend or better not. And I do want to share a little story from my own life, which I think very nicely illustrates this. So some 16 years ago or something, the German taxation department charged me to pay more than 1.5 lakh tax, which I was not supposed to pay. They actually cheated me. And because I was traveling, I missed the 3 months time where I could complain. So when I received that letter, the 3 months were gone. So, and of course, I was very agitated and my false ego took over. And I immediately rang the taxation department and I had a whole argument with a lady on the phone. And she just said, well, sorry, you missed the 3 months and you can take the matter to court. So now I was thinking, what am I doing now? And I was very disturbed. I couldn't even concentrate on my rounds and this and that. And the whole topic was in my mind. And I was very upset about it. So yeah, you have too much incense in your temple room. That's why I have problems with my voice. That's why every morning I'm going and extinguishing all the incense. But yes, sometimes people let it burn anyway. So yeah. So what I did, I remembered one statement which I found in the Bhagavata, which I copied in my verse book. And thank God I remembered that. So sometimes it is helpful to remember a little bit of Shastra, or at least have it in the verse book. So this is 4:19:34. We should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, meaning Krishna's arrangement, we should not be very sorry. The more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest region of materialistic thought. So now comes the purport. Sometimes the saintly or very religious person also has to meet with reversals in life. Such incidents should be taken as providential, although there may be sufficient cause for being unhappy. One should avoid counteracting such reversals. For the more we become implicated in rectifying such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest regions of material anxiety. So that I definitely experienced. Lord Krishna has also advised us in this connection. One should tolerate things instead of becoming agitated. So thank God I remembered this. And I decided, okay, let me just pay it. It's not worth it. All this struggle, I will completely, my bhajan will be out the window. I will be completely caught up in all this deepest, darkest region of materialistic anxiety. And this lifetime, I haven't paid much taxes. Okay, maybe I owe them still something. Let them have it. At the moment of death, does this have any significance? No. Who cares? Yes. So I just paid it. But the false ego was rebelling for another 1 or 2 days. They cheated you. You shouldn't have paid that. Krishna's Lakshmi. I could have used it in better ways. No. So that's the false ego, Yeah, but thank God after a couple of days it was gone and I let go of it and moved on, Yes. So the conclusion is, we may be very expert in defending, counteracting every calamity reversal in our life, but then at the moment of death, we may have to take another birth because we have not managed to dissolve our false ego and cultivate tolerance, right? Whereas a person who learned to tolerate, again, material, mundane vision, the person may look like a loser. Oh, she paid it. Actually, the story is in the False Ego book. And one Prabhupada disciple from America, he edited the book. And when he edited that chapter, he was saying, Mataji, I think I would have not paid it. This is hard for me to digest. Yes. So from a mundane perspective, we may look like being the loser. But no, spiritually, we are the winner. We take the opportunity to let go of the false ego's demands and counteracting and defending and battling. So even in mundane things, we have to be very careful and carefully considering with the help of a counselor, who has the more aloof vision, and very carefully decide whether it's worth it fighting or not. So, of course, Prabhupada, he was fighting court cases, but not only for his ego satisfaction, but he was fighting on behalf of Krishna. Whole different thing, Yes. So, we have to carefully consider. And again, what is seen as success in material life may very well be an obstacle and on the path of spiritual development. Yes. Okay. Do we have one quick question on this topic before we move to the next one? Yes.
Thank you very much, Mataji. My difficulty is that how do I differentiate between inferiority complex and humility? Most of the time I have this contradiction, which is humility, which is inferiority complex.
Interestingly, inferiority complex is also connected with the false ego. So the false ego has two ways of affecting us. The more common way is to be overconfident and proud and yes, I can do it, no problems. But then the other one is when we get all insecure and mental and have some inferiority complexes. So the false ego pushes us to look really good. But maybe according to our karma and abilities, we can't live up to the false ego's demands, right? We can't look as good as we want to look. And that's when we become all insecure and we have minority and inferiority complexes. It's also coming from the false ego. Yeah. Whereas if we are just accepting the position of humble servant, well, even if I can't look as good as I hope to look, well, sorry, this is all I can do. I'm serving to my best capacities. Kindly accept my humble service, you know? Then we will not get all mental and insecure and full of complexes or something. The complexes only come when we try to look better than we can. Yeah. So interesting. Very quick, because I do want to give some other topic.
Yes, Mataji, sometimes when some people accuse the institution and the guru and they insult them, so mostly we're advised to go away from that argument. But sometimes we feel like we know enough to retaliate and convince the other person. So, what should be the course of action there?
Well, it depends on our position, on our spiritual maturity, on our authority, you know, especially if it comes from somebody who is at least externally superior to us, then it's not our position to confront them or something, you know. Yes, but as I mentioned in the Prajalpa session, you know, the Vaishnava etiquette is if there is some disagreement, some conflict on higher levels, we are not meant to take sides. We are not meant to pass judgments. Even to pass judgments on any senior devotee is off. You know? Well, again, it depends on our potency to uplift people. You know? Because often people who are accusing, they're not even open to hear. You know, so it's only worthwhile saying anything if people are actually open to hear. But if they're not open to hear and they've made their opinion and they're just attacking, that's debating, arguing, better not to get involved, you know. We can report it to seniors who maybe have that capacity to really counteract it. But also, you know, let's understand there's always so many people who criticize and this and that. So, you know, the dogs are barking and the caravan goes on, you know. So let them bark, you know. Otherwise, easily we get contaminated, you know. Yes, yes, because it's very very discouraging. It may break our faith hearing all this criticism, you know. So unless we are really senior, you know, and we know how to deal with these things, better not to get involved. Yeah. Okay, so let me just quickly use this opportunity to touch upon a second rule of Vaishnava etiquette, which helps us to dissolve our false ego. So first was not defend, not protect the false ego. So now, because again, the false ego is so near and dear to us, we like to feed it and boost it and massage each other's false egos, you know? So we should stay away from this. Yes. In other words, actually, a devotee does not look for opportunities to be recognized, to be glorified, you know, to get the credit. We avoid that because it feeds and boosts the false ego. Yeah. This is something which we, again, because it's all pretty subtle, you know, we don't really identify these things, you know. Yes. I mean, again, material life is all about feeding, boosting the false ego. The more you can show off and promote yourself, the more successful you will be. And very easily we allow this to enter our spiritual life. And we think in bhakti, this is also the path to success. You know, I mean, we connected on the first day, we talked about the two motivating forces, the ambitiousness and, you know. So yeah, this showing off and pushing ourselves to the front and trying to promote ourselves, this is just all feeding the false ego like anything. And of course, social media really facilitates this. Yes. Facebook. Ugh, you know, I call it ego book. People just promote themselves. Yes, yes. So damaging to our spiritual development, you know. I mean, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he did not allow his disciples to publish a picture in public from him, you know, to show a picture of him. As far as I remember, it was even on the altar. Yeah. He said, while I'm in this world, you cannot do this. It will not be good for my false ego. Only when I'm gone, then you can put a picture in public of me. So why is he saying this? You know, he is free from false ego, but he's saying this to instruct us, you know? Yes, that posting pictures of ourselves does something to our false ego, you know? Yes. And, you know, again, social media, we are often so caught up in this, how many views we have, how many likes, we get all frustrated if there's not enough likes and smileys and hearts and views and, you know. Actually, once one very senior devotee asked me, oh, how many followers do you have? And I didn't even understand what he meant. You know, and I said, followers? I'm not after followers. I don't know. You know, I mean, every morning we are reciting Shikshastikam prayers. We are not after followers. But hey, are we really not after followers? I think we are, you know, completely. Yeah, there's even a whole subtle competition out there. Who's got the more followers? And oh my God, you know, I completely stay away from this. I don't even have a maintained YouTube channel or anything. I don't care. You know, I don't want to fall into this trap. I'm not advanced enough that it will not affect me to get into this. You know, yes. We have to be so cautious. Easily we can miss the whole target of Krishna consciousness in the name of preaching. You know, we are just running after followers, trying to become a more and more important person in this world. And I mean, with modern technology, any fool number one, can become world famous overnight. You know, just by posting some ridiculous thing, and everybody will go for it. You know, oh, God. Yes, so we have to be very careful, very, very careful. You know? Yeah, I mean, there are some interesting statements from Prabhupada in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 3. When I read this the first time, it really hit me. Yes. Prabhupada says, therefore, anyone who has any desire or aspiration for satisfying his senses by becoming more and more important, either in the material sense or in the spiritual sense, cannot actually relish the really sweet taste of devotional service. Wow. That's striking, isn't it? So, if we want to taste the real thing, we have to give up this desire of becoming a more and more important person, even in a spiritual sense. What do we taste? False ego gratification. That's all. It's not the real thing. It's not the really sweet taste of devotional service. Well, when I read that, it hit me. I thought, well, I want to taste the real thing. I don't want to taste the taste of false ego satisfaction here of becoming a really important and famous person or something. No, forget it. I want the real thing. Yes. So, but aren't we all trying in our own little ways to become an important person, according to whatever capacities we have? Yes, we do. If we are a little introspective and honest, we do, But as long as we hang on to that, we just run after false ego gratification, Yes. Also in one purport, Prabhupada makes this humorous comment, one of my favorites. He says, in the material world, even an ass enjoys his own sound vibration. My sound is so beautiful. Let everybody hear it. And then Prabhupada continues, but in this spiritual world, even the beautifully chirping birds like the chakravaka, the cuckoo, the peacocks, they rather hear the glories of the Lord chanted by the bees. Because from a material point of view, the bees are, well, it's not so overwhelmingly beautiful sound they're making. But that's the mood in the spiritual world, that even the most beautifully chirping birds, they consider their own sound not that fantastic. They rather want to hear the glories chanted by the bees, But I think we all have this little ass there in our hearts, who likes to stick up his head and make his big noise at every opportunity. Everybody should hear and notice me, Oh, yeah, and kirtan can offer a lot of opportunities for this, Yes. So that's why, again, we have all these rules of etiquette, that which help us to cultivate this mood of keeping ourselves in the background, helping to understand our tiny, insignificant position, that we are not the center of the universe, Yes. So that's why we have these etiquettes, that we always let the seniors do things first. We let them first offer the flowers to Prabhupada. We let them first take Charnamrita. We let them first chant the verse in the Bhagavatam class. And. So these are all rules of etiquette which help us to cultivate, this mood of toning down a bit, and not trying to be noticed and recognized, Yes. And especially towards singing or speaking, the etiquette is we should wait until we are invited, and we should not be so anxious to speak or sing in the presence of a senior. That's actually the etiquette. In fact, I know some personalities who will, I don't want to mention any names, but who really embody this mood very nicely. I remember I was once, in a temple, and one young sannyasi visited, who is very, very, a very attractive speaker, very powerful personality. But he is a little younger in age to me, and he's younger in Krishna consciousness. So And he was scheduled to give the class, and everybody was keen to hear him. But he came up to me, he asked, "Oh, Mataji, would you like to give the class?" You know, that's actually the etiquette. I was really amazed. I said, "No, no, Marge, you give the class. We're all waiting for you." You know, but that was his mood, you know, seeing, oh, there's actually a more senior person present, even though in a woman's body, and he's a Maharaj, you know. But mothers, well, you know, in spiritual culture, they're respected, you know. Yes. So, and he asked me to give the class, you know, and that I encountered in the Western world, but he is in an Indian body. I'm sure you all know him. It's actually Keshava Maharaj. Yeah, you probably understood already. Yes, yes. So I know him for many years when he was Sutta Babu and all that, you know. Yeah, so I was really moved, you know, that, yeah, wow, what an embodiment of culture and humility and etiquette. You know, even though he's such a popular speaker, you know, even the brahmacharis in Bangladesh, they listen to him online and all this. You know. Yes, yes, but that's humility, that's the etiquette, that's the culture, you know, that we are not so eager to speak. Oh, everybody has to hear what I'm saying, you know. Yes, yes. And especially in Kirtan, you know, when we feel frustrated, that, oh, here's a kirtan mela, and I am not getting a chance to sing. Ah, you know, somebody else took my slot or something. Well, where is our satisfaction from chanting the holy name coming from? Is it coming from the holy name? You know, if actually our joy comes from chanting the holy name, then we don't care who is leading. Yes, you know, we're simply happy to chant Hare Krishna, connect, and call out to the Lord. That's where the bliss and satisfaction comes from. But if we are so keen to lead and we get all frustrated, we didn't get a chance to lead, you know, then very clear, our joy is not coming from the holy name. We are simply running after false ego's gratification, all in the name of Krishna consciousness. You know, yes. Yeah, so we have to understand these things more deeply, you know, more deeply, to avoid feeding and boosting our false egos, all in the name of Krishna consciousness, you know. Yes, I mean, there is more things to say. Let me just very quickly touch upon a topic related to this, you know, that obviously there is an art to appreciate and glorify devotees. So it does not feed and boost their false egos. Sometimes I can't help myself getting this impression that we just want to motivate people on this false ego motivating force, that we give them their weekly dose of ego gratification, you know, hoping they will continue the service, you know. Yes, but actually a Vaishnava will feel so uncomfortable when he hears his glories chanted. He will block his ears and run away. Madhavendra Puri, you know, the story of Madhavendra Puri exemplifies that quality, you know. So, all right, we said in the very beginning, the false ego, at least it gets us going. But we don't want to train devotees like this, that forever they just run on this false ego motivating force. You know, I mean, 40 years ago when I joined, we didn't do these things. You know, that especially this, yeah, I'm not such a friend of this publicly glorifying people. It's almost like an institutionalized way of showing appreciation by, yes, this week that and that person, did this service. Kijai, Kijai, Kijai. The drums are going. Kijai, Kijai, Kijai. So done with that part. Let's move on to the next part. Yeah, don't know, I don't really like this so much. Much better, I feel, because we have to appreciate devotees. Yeah, but a much more personal way, without feeding their false egos, is to actually privately go up to this person and say, thank you so much for doing the service. It means so much to me. You're so steadily playing this role, so thank you so much. Because see, the principle is, the more people hear about my glories, the more it feeds and boosts the false ego. Right? Yes. So, but when we personally go up to the person, then that appreciation becomes a loving exchange. We really honestly, with humility, express our gratitude, right? And actually, there's also a formula to offer any kind of feedback. Usually, doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative feedback. We should usually start by appreciating a person. Then we offer some little room for improvement. And then we again finish on the positive note, because we know the saying, he who glorifies us is our enemy. And he who corrects and maybe even chastises us, he is our best friend, because he lets us know how we can improve. Whereas he who just glorifies us, he boosts our false ego, So let us imagine a person cooked the Sunday feast. So we go up to him, oh, thank you so much, Prabhu, for cooking the feast. Everybody really enjoyed it. The dal was maybe a little too salty. Some little room for improvement here. But the sabji, everything was so nice. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for doing the service in such a steady way. So I personally like to give such kind of appreciation rather than just kijai, kijai, kijai. And again, as I said 40 years ago, we didn't do these things. All these things are sneaking in, gradually. And I'm wondering, where is this coming from? So all right, the only thing, which we did 40 years ago and which also Prabhupada introduced is that we read out the book distribution scores just to stimulate a little bit, the competitive spirit. But even there, we have to be careful. Even there, it can easily become just a whole thing of wanting to be number one and feeding the false egos. And I remember from my own Sankirtan days in Sydney when I joined, when we had a small day, we were not handing in the scores because we were too embarrassed to have a small result read out. We were keeping it for the next day and adding it onto that, So yeah, this just shows the whole ego thing, Yeah. And I mean, I know many temples now, just to avoid that, they announce the scores in a more team related way, that they have different teams and parties, they give them different names, and you announce the team effort rather than the one person effort, So yeah, I mean, these are things to be considered because, yeah, if we want to bring devotees to this point that they feel uncomfortable if they hear their glories chanted, so then why making them feel uncomfortable? You know, by publicly glorifying them and so on. You know? Yes. Yeah, why not help the devotees to get to this point? And I mean, we can reflect. How do we feel if somebody announces our name? Do we think, oh, finally they're recognizing my glories? You know, are we still on that level? You know, oh, sad, you know? Or do we actually feel uncomfortable, blocking our ears and running out? You know, so there we can see where we stand, how much advancement we have actually made, you know? And then sometimes, I mean, I used to coordinate all kinds of festivals and this and that. Now I've handed it all over to the local devotees in different countries. But so I often was serving as the master of ceremony there, and in the closing ceremony, I was expressing my gratitude to people who helped pulling the whole event off, you know. And then sometimes I had this that, oh, people feel offended. Oh, I was also in the kitchen and my name was not mentioned. What is this? You know, do we really want to bring people to that consciousness? You know? Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, just some little food for thought to consider, you know, to be a little mindful of these subtle things, you know. Yes. All right, 9:01. Let me see if we have any questions about feeding and boosting the false ego. I mean, as I'm saying, there's so many more things to say. So I hope you will check out the book. I had a lot of good feedback from the book. And I'm not saying that because it's my book, you know, but no, this topic is so important. You know. Some question from online.
There is one question. The question is, in Grihastha ashram, between couples, correcting and showing each other's mistake is a duty or a false ego or fault finding?
See, these things are very subtle. It depends on the consciousness which we do it with. You know? Yes. You know? We can point out each other's faults in the mood of, you know, false ego. Oh, again, you did that. Oh, didn't I tell you? Oh, you know, so obviously such kind of mood of correcting each other is contaminating to ourselves and to the person who has to hear it, you know, and will only lead to havoc and divorce, you know. But then when we do it in humility, you know, simply sharing, you know, how we feel when the other person does certain things and not in an attacking and blaming way. If we inquire from each other, how can I become a better husband? Can you help me to let me understand how to become a better wife? You know, so that's a whole different approach. You know, but if we just blame and attack each other, I mean, that's the common thing what goes on in Grihastha life, that people just blame each other. It's all my wife, it's all my husband. You know, so then there will be no purification, and most likely it will build up until we walk out, you know. So, but if we have the approach, how can I become a better wife? How can I become a better husband? And we even ask like that. Because see, if we are actually humble servant, if we want to cultivate that mood, then shouldn't we be interested in hearing how we can improve our service? You know, I saw this morning there's a feedback box from the temple management. You know, how can we improve our service? So, you know, why not have that mood in Grihastha life? Put a feedback box in your You know, one for the wife, one for the husband, you know. So that's a sign that we actually want to serve. So your management here, they actually want to serve the devotees. They want to hear, how can we improve our service? So that's wonderful, you know, and that's the attitude we all should have in whatever capacities we serve. Please let me know, how can I improve my service, you know? So, and then we get some purification, you know.
There is one more question, Mataji.
One more question. Maybe there's a question of those who are here.
Thank you, Mataji, for the wonderful series. My question about counselor. So you keep pointing to that,
Yes.
but sometimes people, we also have different experiences with the counselors as well. So how
We
one
have,
different experiences with the counselors.
okay.
So how do we what is like barometer, or how do we approach, or how do we find somebody that would help?
Let me take the last opportunity, my last chance. It's the last program I'm doing here, to bring your attention to the books, just in case there's still somebody who hasn't got what they would like to get or should get. So this book, Sheltering Relationships, this is all about this topic of mentorship, of having a counselor and becoming a counselor. So there's a whole chapter about the qualities a counselor has to have. So first of all, we have to know, what is the qualification of a counselor, right? For those who are looking for a counselor, they have to know what to look for. For those who want to serve as a counselor, they have to know how to qualify themselves. You know, if we are in darkness over that, so of course, then we will experience so many disappointments, you know. So first we have to educate ourselves on the whole topic. And then we can make some attempt to actually establish, you know, maybe a bit of a structure or something, because that's helpful, you know. Yes, in many devotees' lives, this accepting a counselor, serving as a counselor goes on informally. But in many devotees' lives, it doesn't. So usually, see, I'm very familiar with this whole topic because for over 20 years I was preaching in Ukraine before the war started. So, and His Holiness Naranjana Swami is the GBC there. And he took the whole idea of mentorship from Chowpatty in the very early days, 25 years ago, when he visited Chowpatty, when it was not even part of ISKCON that long ago. Yeah. Maybe some of you know that Chowpatty started outside ISKCON. And actually, Naranja Swami was the one who convinced Varna Swami to come back to ISKCON. That's why they're very close. And Naranja Swami immediately could recognize, this is what we need. And immediately he gave the order in his whole GBZ zone that the devotees should watch these lectures of Radha Swami and implement the system. So that's where I'm very familiar with this. And I have seen how they established the whole system from the start, from day one in Ukraine, and how it has brought so much stability into people's individual lives and communities. And even now in the war, the devotees have such amazing mood of serving and helping and supporting each other. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. They're really heroes there, you know. Yeah. So anyway, that's where we have to start. We have to understand the qualifications. You know, that's what you get if you don't have a bit of a structure. Then maybe unqualified people serve as a counselor. And then you have so many unwanted situations and disappointments, you know. So usually in those areas where I have observed how people do things, the counselors are appointed. They're not self-appointed. We may think we are the perfect person to serve as a counselor, but maybe others have a different idea, you know. So we actually should be authorized, you know. Yeah, and there's so much more to it. So please check out the book, you know. Yes. And then let me say a few words about the other books. Spiritual Culture, Krishna's Divine System. This is about the whole man, woman, nature's qualities, that they're very different. They're not the same. Man, woman are not equal. The equality is there on the level of the soul, but not on the level of the body, because they're meant to play different roles and functions. You know, so very helpful. The book is all about women, and yet many temples, especially here in India, they use this book as a handbook for brahmachari training, so that the men also understand what is the highly important contribution we women are meant to make. You know, we are meant to be the power of inspiration to the men, and we are not meant to compete with them. So this has to be clearly understood also by the preachers, because the Bhagavatam is full of strong statements about women. So here you will find a more balanced idea why Prabhupada says these things. You have to understand it, you know, otherwise, you know, people get the idea, or maybe we should take these comments out because in the modern days people don't accept them. These things are going on in ISKCON. Yes, I know some temples in the West where the leaders don't allow any verse to be discussed in the Bhagavatam where there's strong statements about women. That's how far we are. Yeah. Yeah. So what is this? You know, we have to understand what Prabhupada is saying. You know, why is he saying it? The law books for the next 10,000 years. You know, we have to have faith in Prabhupada's words. You know, so yeah, there you will get some deeper understandings why Prabhupada makes these statements. Very helpful for married life. Any woman who wants to have harmonious relationships with men in her life should read this book, please. And every man who wants to get the empowerment and support should also read it. And false ego, I think we get some idea. But there's also a whole chapter on chanting in japa and kirtan, how to chant, that we don't feed and boost the false ego, but we dissolve and subdue it. And entering the Grihastha Ashram, handbook for matchmaking. We need a little bit of help in this. Here in India, people only look at caste, money. They don't look at the different levels of compatibility, you know, more connected with devotional aspects. There's a whole list of 200 topics which a boy and a girl should discuss in the presence of a parent, a counselor, a matchmaker, just to see, are we on the same page? Do we have same goals and moods? Because Krishna consciousness is a broad spectrum, how you want to practice it. You know, you can be on the casual side, you can be on the strict side. It has to match. You know, yes. So please let us educate ourselves so we can establish compatible and harmonious marriages. That sets the foundation to our movement, because divorce rate is increasing in India. And it's mainly also because of that bad matchmaking. You know. And last but not least, family life as an ashram, secrets of success. How to cultivate the culture of bhakti in our home life. Not every married devotee's home is a place suitable for cultivating bhakti. We need some training in this. And most people, they don't get any training. They just get married and have no training and education, you know. And all they may know is mundane family life. Yes, and then we are surprised that we don't make much advancement in marriage. And it gives married life a bad name. Then we think, oh, this Grihastha ashram, or the Grihasthas are fallen. Grihastha ashram is a perfect way to make progress, but it has to be an ashram. You know, that's the point. Most of our previous acharyas were Grihasthas, but their family life was an ashram. Whereas our family life often is far away from being an ashram. You know, so here we get this training. And then if we create this culture of bhakti, then the children very naturally grow into Krishna consciousness. But if the culture is not there, then the kids will not become devotees. You know, yeah, we see that a lot too, even here in India. And there's a whole chapter on physical intimacy in marriage, how to live this principle of no illicit sex life. You know, there's a lot of confusion over this. Nobody talks about it, especially here in India. And everybody's wondering how to make things work, you know, and it can lead to so many marriage problems if we don't have a mature understanding on this. So, and I did quite some research and it came across interesting episodes and instructions with Prabhupada, where he says things which hardly anybody has heard. Yeah. And that adds a different perspective to the whole topic. Yeah, so I hope this will make our family life more Krishna conscious and at the same time emotionally healthy and balanced. So if anybody of you would like to get some books, these last 3 books, they are 350 each. The first 2 are 300 each. Many people got the whole set, 1,650. So if you want to get some books, please, now is the last chance, because tomorrow morning, 5 o'clock, I'm leaving. And now I have only the samples left, but I have a whole big list of orders. So if you want to get a book, you can come and put your name down, phone number, you pay. If you trust me, you pay already up front. And in 10, 15 days, some boxes arrive. Somebody will ring you on the Sunday program. There will be somebody standing on a table. And only those people get the books which they have ordered and paid for. There will be no extra books, right? So not that people think, oh, yeah, I will get it from here. No, you will not get it from here unless you put your name down and you ordered it, right? So that's the system. Okay, so concluding, I would like to express my gratitude for having the chance to visit you. I'm truly inspired and impressed in seeing what nice mood you have developed here. You know, I came last time 6 years ago, 2018. So I can definitely see, oh, there's such a nice mood and atmosphere. You're offering so many different educational things for the kids of all ages and different levels of Krishna consciousness for the grown-ups. And yeah, very, very nice, very inspiring. So thank you for tolerating me. And I truly hope I'll get another chance sometime in the future to come again, especially when I have my next book out on the Vanapasta ashram. Wow, it's so relevant. Nobody's talking about it. You know, yes, what is this Vanapasta ashram all about? You know, yes. Okay, thank you so much, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Gaura Premanandi, Hare Krishna.